From the design of a Minecraft roleplay character's skin, to the design of multitudes of fan art, to the design of video concluding segments, to the design of the literal plot of a story, it is no doubt that Minecraft YouTubers have a strong connection with their fans. Through platforms such as Twitch and Twitter, as well as through the creation of art and writing on fan platforms such as Tumblr and Archive of Our Own, both by creators and fans, Minecraft YouTubers and their fans alike have made a strong connection between fanon and canon. This being said, many aspects of what is considered canon in a Minecraft roleplay are created not only by the content creators behind the wheel, but also the fans of the various series. Be it through direct participation or audience interaction with content creators, it is quite possible that the genre of MCYT itself has created a feedback loop in which what is canon affects fanon, and in turn, fanon affects canon right back. One of the most prominent SMPs in the 2020s, leading to a surge of new fans to MCYT content due to the coronavirus lockdown, was the Dream SMP, run by Minecraft YouTuber Dream. To show a glimpse into how much the Dream SMP caused the MCYT fanbase to grow, viewership on Twitch of Minecraft content went from 17 million hours watched in January 2020 to 74 million in January of 2021, according to data from analytics company Rainmaker.gg provided by Stream Elements. While the Dream SMP was certainly not the first SMP to affect its fanon, or be affected by its fanon, its introduction of multitudes of fans certainly left the fandom with a lot to work with, if just by its sheer size. The SMP's big scripted events can draw hundreds of thousands of live viewers on Twitch. Additionally, the Dream SMP had a combination of scripted, intense lore, where creators took the role of characters with a slew of dedicated lore, factions, eras, and terminology, and improvisational elements, also sometimes on-the-fly lore caused by its members going rogue. This led to fans taking the content even farther. One example of a canon event that fans took into their own hands was the introduction of Quackity's Scar. At the conclusion of a Dream SMP lore event, where the character Quackity took on a butcher persona to kill the anarchist pig character Technoblade, Technoblade took down Quackity, stating,
"I have a pickaxe, and I'll put it through your teeth!"
Some fans began to interpret the outcome of this event as giving Quackity a scar through his eye or his face. This began to appear in pieces of artwork and fanfiction. After this point, Quackity began to allude to the fact that this fan-made headcanon may have made its way into the canon storyline. On March 12, 2021, Quackity fully canonized this headcanon by changing his Minecraft skin to include the scar. While Quackity has not spoken about the exact reasoning for the change in his character's canonical appearance, it is probable that he was inspired by content that fans had made. While there aren't multitudes of evidence that Quackity interacts with fan content, he has read fanfiction on stream and shouted out fan art events. This positive reaction to fan art lends itself to the idea that Quackity was inspired by fan art of his SMP character with the scar. Due to the lore on the Dream SMP being introduced both through heavily scripted events and the aforementioned rogue character interaction, fans would often pay close attention during streams for one-off lines that canonized their headcanons. Quackity was not the only creator apparently affected by art of their character. Tubbo and Captain Puffy, among others, were two creators whose characters were portrayed with horns in fan art, fanfiction, and cosplay, among other creative mediums. While the portrayal of Tubbo with horns probably dates back to around September or October of 2020, during the Manberg arc, on February 19th, 2021, Captain Puffy stated on her stream that
Tubbo has little horns as well.
This semi-canonization caused a lot of uproar in the fandom. Despite the real-life Tubbo having no presence in this interaction, it was tweeted about by the Tubbo Updates account and received over 1,000 likes, with many users beginning to discuss the interaction on websites like Twitter and Tumblr. This is simply one example of the way that the Dream SMP's format and approach to canonization had fans watching it with a microscope. In another instance, on March 24th, 2022, TikTok user Mack9Duracell made a video in response to a stream by Dream SMP creator George Not Found. In this stream, the character of George told the character Quackity in a dream sequence that his clothes were full of holes. Quackity responded,
"No, they're tailored to me."
The video showed the creator having an emotional reaction to the event, stating hyperbolically via the audio that it made them want to die, and garnered 50,000 views and 3,000 likes. Its commenters seem to have wildly differing viewpoints on the interaction. Some of them believe that Quackity's clothes once belonged to someone else, and some believe that it was a shout-out to his character having wings. While the creator's reasoning for the emotional reaction was not shared, this is another instance of how lines that can seem one-off can cause large amounts of fan speculation. While the Dream SMP clearly was many viewers' introduction into the wider MCYT fandom, it was hardly the first SMP to affect its fanon, or be affected by its fanon. One other very prominent example is the Hermitcraft SMP, which began in 2012 and is still running today. For a glimpse into Hermitcraft's viewership, the most subscribed to Hermit is Mumbo Jumbo, who has 9.5 million subscribers. While this isn't quite as many subscribers as some members of the Dream SMP have reached, most of these hermits have had a career spanning a much longer time frame, and Mumbo Jumbo's YouTube views that exceed 3 billion according to the live update Hermitcraft statistic page are nothing to scoff at. Hermitcraft's fans, as the fans of the Dream SMP are very dedicated to creating content surrounding the SMP, and their dedication grows with time. For example, one of Hermitcraft's most popular ships, Grian and Good Times with Scar, leapt 26 places in the 2024 summer AO3 ship statistic page, making it barely miss the top 5 of most grown ships out of the top 100. However, one thing that makes Hermitcraft interesting among other SMPs, even such as the Dream SMP, is the way its fans have incorporated lore from prior series and different servers. To zoom into one of these instances, let's look at what happened at the beginning of Hermitcraft Season 6. To begin here, we'll actually have to take a step back. Hermitcraft Season 6 ran from July of 2018 to February of 2020. Coincidentally, intersecting with Hermitcraft Season 6 was another SMP entirely, a server known as Evolution SMP, EVO for short. Evolution SMP featured a few members who would become hermits, but the server was run by Grian, who was invited to join Hermitcraft in Season 6. Involved in the lore of the Evolution SMP were a powerful unseen group known as the Watchers. The Watchers would create portals, speak to players in riddles, and build angel statues to themselves. However, even though they tried to punish those who misbehaved, they appeared through the series itself to be more playful than malicious. For example, when Grian states,
"Even though I shared, the Watchers still punished me by putting obsidian on every single one of my chests."
He sounds rightfully annoyed at worst. Additionally, Grian has stated that he intended the Watchers to represent the viewers of Evolution SMP. Grian states that introducing the Watchers helped make Evolution SMP more story-based. However, at the end of the series, when Grian joins the Watchers, he stated,
"I became a watcher. I became a viewer."
Grian's presence as a Watcher was meant to be interpreted on a metafictional level, the title of Watcher taken literally. But was this interpretation picked up readily by the fans, and free from feedback loop trends just because the creator of the series said it was so? Absolutely not. This is the Minecraft YouTube fandom. What happened instead was this. On May 5th, 2019, after EVO had concluded and intersecting with Season 6 of Hermitcraft, a fanfiction by the title of "And the Universe Shifts" was posted. Tagged, "Grian has a bad time the fanfic," "And the Universe Shifts" portrays the relationship between Grian and the Watchers differently than the playful, metafictional outlook Grian had planned. Instead, the Watchers are evil figures, physically and mentally abusive towards Grian, leaving him with physical injuries and panic attacks in the first 2 chapters alone. To give some insight into the effect this fanfiction had on the greater Hermitcraft community, I will share that this is the 3rd most kudos Hermitcraft work on AO3 of all time, top 5 in hits, and if you remove any works that include Dream SMP crossovers, it ranks number 1 across hits, kudos, and bookmarked. Additionally, inspired by "And the Universe Shifts" is a canonical tag on AO3. "And the Universe Shifts" has inspired profound amounts of art, writing, cosplay, animatics. If you've seen a Watcher design with a mask on, you've seen someone who was in some way inspired by this monumental fanfiction. This being said, there have been lots of fanfictions that have taken an element of canon and modified it in some way. There have even been lots of fanfictions that have explicitly gone against a creator's intention with canon. There are over 120,000 fanfics on AO3 alone with the Dean Winchester/Castiel tag. So, what makes And the Universe Shifts special? Well, for one, And the Universe Shifts draws from lore of two fandoms that were seemingly pretty unconnected. Sure, Grian was on Evo and then Hermitcraft, but the two servers did not share much more of a reasonable connection. However, thanks to And the Universe Shifts, Hermitcraft's lore and Watcher lore seem to be interchangeable. For example, on the aforementioned Archive of Our Own, there are over 500 works with the Hermitcraft fandom tag that are also labeled with the tag The Watchers. Therefore, over 500 fanfictions could have been said to be recursed from And the Universe Shifts, even though a far smaller number has the direct tag. The most monumental thing about the way And the Universe Shifts affected the Hermitcraft fandom, in my opinion, however, is that it did this single-handedly. With things such as Quackity's Scar and Tubbo's Horns, many fans at once had an input on the way fandom saw the source material. However, And the Universe Shifts changed the way Evolution SMP and Hermitcraft fans intersected and interpreted the source material nearly single-handedly, and its impact extended far beyond the Hermitcraft and Evo fandoms, stretching across other SMPs and creators beyond Grian himself. Many of the other members of Evo SMP have been incorporated into Watcher lore, as they have continued to work on series with Grian, Pearlescent Moon, who would become a hermit in Season 8, and Big B ST4 and Solidarity, who would join Grian on the Life series, among them. But perhaps no creator besides Grian had as much an impact on Watcher lore, and on the way his fandom affected his canon, than Martin in the Littlewood. On April 20th, 2021, Grian, who was then well established on Hermitcraft and in Watcher lore, started a new Minecraft SMP project. The Life series, a hardcore with a twist SMP, quickly gathered a strong fanbase, largely migrating from SMPs such as Hermitcraft, which had previously featured many of the Life series members. As previously mentioned, the Life series also featured many members of Evolution SMP, such as Pearlescent Moon, Big B ST4, Jimmy Solidarity, and Martin in the Littlewood. The things about these members is, having participated in Evo SMP, they were inevitably dragged into Watcher lore right off the bat. There's a little bit more of Evo SMP I haven't yet covered. Over the course of the SMP, Jimmy Solidarity and Martin in the Littlewood stumble across a secret dungeon. They find signs that state,
"There are some who watch. We are those who listen."
The signs instruct Jimmy and Martin to tell nobody and promise a secret mission. While this mission wasn't given until many episodes later, the immediate impact was obvious. Solidarity dubs those who left the signs the listeners, and immediately, comment sections started speculating. In what can be assumed is perhaps the closest read to the creator's intention, one commenter states, "What I understand by listeners as they, out of canon, are the people who multitask, are tabbed out while listening to the videos, or are doing tasks that require their visual attention more than anything else, allowing them to be able to hear." However, fans eventually began to take continued cues for And the Universe Shifts, portraying listeners not as playful figures, but as malicious ones. For example, fanfictions that involve the listeners often use tags such as "the listeners are bad" or "the listeners are jerks," similar to the canonical "the watchers are bad" AO3 tag. The crossover of listener lore into the world of Watcher lore was eventually dubbed the Eyes and Ears AU, something that was widely adopted by fanon communities. And I use the word adopted and not created for one very specific reason. The Eyes and Ears AU was not, in fact, created by a fan or a group of fans. It was created by Martin in the Littlewood. Martin readily incorporates his Eyes and Ears AU into his Life series lore. For example, his last episode of Last Life, Season 2 of the Life series, involved a conversation between his character and figures presumed to be the Watchers, where they stated,
"You're more of a listener."
Martin returned to this lore in his finale of Limited Life, Series 4 of the Life series, where the Watchers talk about his character again. Additionally, Martin very frequently involves his fans in his interpretation of lore, such as when he reblogs their post to his Tumblr blog. And unlike creators like Quackity, who was relatively hesitant about the fanfiction he read on stream, Martin very frequently shouts out fan content in positive ways on stream, going as far as to commission fan creators such as Cheeryfire to contribute content to his canon. Martin's relationship to his fans and their content might be strikingly different than Grian's or even Quackity's, but one thing rings true about all of these content creators' relationships with fanon. From Quackity's incorporation of his character Scar through fan art, to Martin creating a whole AU around a singular fanfiction, to even less affirming interactions, such as Grian being motivated to share his intentions for creating the Watchers. It is clear that fans are fueled by the canonization of their fan lore. In turn, fans make more fan lore, such as Quackity being drawn with his scar as a staple of his design from the Las Nevadas era on, or countless interpretations of And the Universe Shifts designs in fan art and cosplay, or the Listener in the Littlewood AO3 tag that in fact has more works than the Listener tag alone. These interactions feed each other, whether in a way that is affirming or negating. The outlook from the content creators doesn't seem to sway the fans' opinions. Content is made either way, and the canon-fanon feedback loop continues indefinitely, perhaps until MCYT fandoms cease to exist.